Welcome back to Days of Our Lives, and welcome to a Thursday that looks deceptively peaceful in Salem, but is anything but calm. Because on November 20th, the tension isn't loud. It's quiet, subtle, creeping beneath every conversation and every glance. Every character today is standing right on the edge of a choice that could alter relationships, ignite rivalries, and push fragile loyalties straight into disaster. Hidden motives begin to sharpen, lines start to blur, and for some players, today is the moment everything shifts. So let's break down this Thursday step by step, every secret, every power play, every dangerous spark waiting to explode. We open the episode with a moment that feels almost unreal, a moment where time slows down, and every viewer leans in a little closer. Xander walks toward Brady Black. No stomping footsteps, no angry glare, just a steady, strangely controlled approach. And then it happens, the last thing anyone expected to hear from Xander's mouth. "Thank you." The words land heavy, almost unnatural. There's no softness in his voice. Only tension, the kind that sits right behind the throat when a man is holding back something much darker. He thanks Brady for stepping in during Sarah's terrifying allergic reaction, for being the one who held her steady, who kept her conscious, who made sure she didn't collapse in the middle of that panic. And the subtext is unmistakable. Xander wasn't there. Brady was. Brady tries to respond gently. He asks about Sarah. He tries to diffuse the awkwardness. But each time he speaks, Xander's expression sharpens, his jaw tightens just a little more. Because while Xander is speaking, "Thank you," his heart is screaming something very different. He sees it now with brutal clarity. Brady is slipping into Sarah's life in all the quiet ways Xander used to. Checking on her, supporting her, being there in moments of fear. And the most painful part of all, Sarah isn't pushing Brady away. In fact, she's drifting toward him. The realization stings, a deep, gut-level fear that Xander can't swallow down anymore. This moment isn't a peace offering. It isn't closure. It isn't a mature conversation. It's a quiet, tense warning. Brady is getting too close. Sarah is slipping away, and Xander knows exactly where this road leads. But here's the twist neither of them sees coming: the pistachio that nearly killed Sarah. The reason she gasped for air, the reason Brady had to rush in, wasn't an accident. And the one responsible is standing in the same room. Small, silent, watching. Xander thinks Brady is the threat. He has no idea how wrong he is. Across Salem, behind a counter at the pub, a booth at the square, or maybe halfway behind Brady's coat, Rachel Black is watching. Not glancing, not casually noticing, watching. Her eyes follow Sarah Horton with laser-sharp focus, each blink deliberate. Each breath measured. Rachel isn't simply curious, she's calculating. Because she saw it all, the chaos of Sarah's allergic attack, Brady's panic, the way he held Sarah like she mattered. To Rachel, that wasn't concern. It was betrayal, a threat to her father, a threat to her place in his world, a threat delivered by Sarah Horton. And today, the camera gives us one of the eeriest shots of the week. Rachel's face in perfect stillness, her eyes locked onto Sarah, studying her movements like a puzzle she has already decided to solve. Rachel may be young, but her emotions are sharp, her loyalties fierce, and her sense of danger warped. And the fear driving her is very real. What if Sarah replaces Kristen? What if Sarah replaces her? What if Brady chooses someone else over his daughter? That fear becomes fuel. And today, that fuel turns into something else: intention. This is the moment Rachel silently chooses her target. Not Brady, because she needs him. Not Xander, because he doesn't matter to her world. She chooses Sarah, the woman who almost took her father's attention. The woman who almost died, because of something Rachel did. And now, she's ready to finish what she started. The most chilling part? Every adult in the room is too busy fighting their own battles to see the danger right at their feet. Rachel blends into the background like a shadow. But her intentions are loud, louder than anyone realizes. The real threat to Sarah's safety today isn't a villain, or a DiMera, or a criminal. It's a little girl with a broken sense of loyalty and a growing desire to eliminate the problem standing between her and her father. While emotional storms brew across Salem, a different kind of tension tightens across town, one made of dead ends, missing evidence, and a case that refuses to make sense. Rafe Hernandez and Kat Green continue their investigation into the robbery Kat bravely stopped earlier this week. But today, their progress comes to a sudden, suspicious halt. First, a witness who was confident 2 days ago suddenly can't remember. Then the suspect's story changes, matching the new missing evidence a little too perfectly. And the files Rafe personally requested? Gone. Wiped from the system. As if someone predicted exactly where the investigation was heading and cut them off before they arrived. Kat feels the trap closing before Rafe even says it. Her frustration spills over, not reckless, but desperate. She wants answers. She wants accountability. She wants to know why every path leads to a dead end right when they get close to the truth. Rafe steps in, steady and cautious, but even he knows what this pattern means. This isn't a sloppy criminal covering their tracks. This is someone with influence, someone with access, someone who understands exactly how to erase a trail from behind the scenes. A ghost in the system. A hand behind the curtain. Kat refuses to be intimidated. Her anger hardens into determination. Because whatever she stumbled into during that robbery, it wasn't random. It wasn't isolated, and it wasn't meant to be solved. This wall they've hit isn't a roadblock. It's a warning. A warning from someone who has resources, connections, and enough reach to control the narrative. And if they're trying this hard to bury the truth, then the truth must be something explosive. Something that links the robbery to the larger shadows moving across Salem, from Rolf's secret experiment, to Gwen's stolen flash drive, to the mysterious crate delivered in silence. Kat didn't just stop a robber. She stepped into the crosshairs of someone who does not want to be found. At the Kuriaki's mansion, the atmosphere is tense, not loud, not explosive, but heavy, like a storm cloud sitting right over the living room table. Justin Kuriakis sits opposite Jennifer Horton, but today he isn't her relative, or her friend, or the comforting presence he's been in past crises. Today, he is her attorney. And that shift alone already sets the tone. Jennifer leans forward, hands clenched, determination etched across her face. Her resolve is unshakable, at least on the surface. Justin sees that determination, and that's exactly why he chooses his words carefully, but firmly. Jennifer, do not file this custody suit. The silence that follows is deafening. Jennifer's eyes widen, not out of shock, but out of frustration. She didn't come here for resistance. She came for validation, for a legal green light. Because in her heart, she truly believes she's doing right by Thomas and Charlotte. She believes that removing them from the instability Chad is creating is the only way to protect them. But Justin forces her to examine the truth she doesn't want to face. A custody battle won't just pit her against Chad. It will resurrect every trauma their families have been trying to bury for years. Justin's voice is calm but heavy, as he lays out the consequences one by one. A courtroom war will divide the Horton and DiMera families. It will drag the kids into emotional chaos. It will turn every holiday, every school event, every family gathering into a landmine. And worst of all, it risks reopening the deepest wounds linked to Abigail's death. Pain Jennifer has spent years trying to heal. She listens quietly, but her silence is the most telling part of the entire scene. Because Jennifer's eyes? They don't reflect doubt. They reflect a decision already made. She promised her grandchildren that she would protect them. She promised herself she wouldn't let another generation collapse under the weight of DiMera chaos. And Jennifer Horton does not break a promise, even if the path she's choosing is paved with heartbreak. Even if it shatters her relationship with Chad. even if it creates a rift between the Horton and DiMera legacies that won't heal for years. This isn't stubbornness. This is guilt, grief, fear of repeating past mistakes. Justin sees it all, but he also knows that once Jennifer gets like this, there is no stopping her. And that realization cuts deeper than his words ever could. Across Salem, Chad DiMera sits in his living room, exhausted, overwhelmed, and emotionally cornered. Enter Jeremy, the one person who actually dares to speak to Chad bluntly without fear of the DiMera temper. He doesn't soften his words. He doesn't circle around the truth. He looks Chad straight in the eye and delivers a line that slices through every defense Chad is clinging to. You're fighting for control, not clarity. The words hit Chad like a punch, not because they're cruel, but because they're accurate. Deep down, Chad knows he's not fighting Jennifer out of logic. He's fighting out of fear. Fear of losing his children. Fear of failing them. Fear of watching the last pieces of Abigail slip away if the kids move out of Salem. But instead of facing that fear, Chad has been compensating the only way he knows how, by tightening his grip. By insisting he knows best. By pushing harder and harder until every conversation turns into an argument. Jeremy lays it all out, not to hurt Chad, but to save him from himself. He reminds him that children sense conflict. That constant tension can damage them more than distance ever could. That fighting Jennifer tooth and nail won't protect the kids, it will drag them into a battlefield they never asked to be on. Chad tries to argue. He insists Jennifer is making a massive mistake. He insists the kids belong with him. But Jeremy doesn't back down. He tells Chad the truth no one else has said aloud. You're not battling Jennifer. You're battling your grief, your guilt, your fear of being alone. It's a brutal moment because it exposes everything Chad has been burying under anger. But it also sets up something no fan wants to hear. This custody battle is not going to be clean. It's not going to be quick. And neither side is emotionally ready for what's coming. This isn't just a family dispute. It's a psychological war. Throughout today's episode, Salem itself becomes a silent storyteller, whispering secrets through small scenes that hint at massive storylines brewing underneath. First, we witness Erin Green at Bayview, sitting beside Sophia Choi, desperate to pull her out of the trance that has swallowed her entire mind. She's motionless, expressionless, a shell. But today, for the first time in days, her finger twitches. A tiny movement, barely visible, but huge in meaning. Is she waking up? Is someone controlling her? Or is something inside her changing the longer she stays under Rolf's influence? Meanwhile, deep underground, Dr. Wilhelm Rolf and Mark Green continue working on their hush-hush experiment, a project connected to the mysterious crate that arrived earlier in the week. Wires hum. Green fluid glows through reinforced glass. Machines beep in strange, erratic rhythms. The entire lab feels like a heartbeat. A heartbeat belonging to something not yet alive, but getting closer. And with Dimitri resurfacing, with whispers that Andre might be alive and masquerading as Tony, the experiment suddenly feels less like science and more like resurrection. Back on the surface, E.J. DiMera watches Johnny struggle to calm baby Trey. E.J. wants to help. He wants to step in. He wants to reconnect. But he's terrified of being rejected again. Of making things worse. Of losing his son's trust forever. It's a subtle moment, but a heartbreaking one. Every storyline today, from the custody tension, to Rachel's growing danger, to Rolf's experiment, to E.J.'s fear, tightens like a web. Each thread connected, each secret pulling the next. Each scene pushing Salem closer to a breaking point it can't avoid. The shadows are shifting, the board is being set. And someone we haven't fully identified yet, is pulling the strings. The episode doesn't end with a scream, or a fight, or an explosion. Instead, it ends with silence. The kind of silence that makes the hairs on the back of your neck rise. Sarah is sitting down, still shaken from her allergic reaction, still breathing a little too fast. Brady hovers nearby, trying to be gentle, trying to reassure her. His voice is soft, almost fatherly, as he asks whether she needs water, fresh air, or just a moment to breathe. Sarah gives him a fragile smile. It's small, but it's genuine, and that tiny moment, that tiny connection, is what triggers everything. Because across the room, Rachel Black sees it. She doesn't blink, she doesn't shift, she doesn't even breathe for a second. Her body freezes like a statue, but her expression, it changes. The innocence drops, the fear drops, even the childish pout drops. What replaces it is something colder, sharper, calculating. Her eyes narrow on Sarah, studying her the same way she studied the pistachios earlier, with precision and purpose. She looks at Sarah, then at Brady, then back at Sarah. But this time, there's no confusion in her gaze. No jealousy, no tantrum brewing, just decision. A quiet, chilling decision. The background music fades into a low, pulsing hum, the kind DOOL uses when something irreversible is about to happen. Brady continues talking, unaware. Sarah nods, unaware. Everyone in the room is oblivious. Except Rachel. The camera cuts to her small hand, tucked behind her back. Slowly, painfully slowly, her fingers uncurl. And there it is, a pistachio shell. If the earlier incident was a question, this is the answer. A reminder of what she did. A threat of what she can do again. A promise of what she's planning next. The shell rests in her palm like a weapon, small, silent, deadly. Rachel lifts her eyes one final time, locking onto Sarah with a look that is far too old for a girl her age. A look that says, I can get rid of you. The screen cuts to black. No cliffhanger music, no dramatic gasp, just darkness. Because the message is already clear, Rachel is not done. Not even close. And the danger ahead? It's coming from the last place anyone would suspect. Thursday, November 20th doesn't end with a gunshot. It doesn't end with a kidnapping. It doesn't end with a shock reveal in the Demera tunnels. No, it ends with something far worse, a shift. A subtle, dangerous shift that changes the entire energy of Salem. Relationships tilt off balance, Xander spiraling with jealousy, Brady stepping into a role he never asked for, Sarah unaware of the danger circling her, and Rachel transforming into something far darker than a troubled child. Alliances wobble, Jennifer versus Chad, Rafe and Kat against an invisible enemy, EJ torn between guilt and fatherhood. Secrets deepen. In the lab in Bayview in the shadows of the Demera estate. Intentions sharpen, people choosing paths they can never walk back from. Today is not the payoff. It's the prelude. Today is not the explosion. It's the fuse. Today is not the catastrophe. It's the spark. A spark that touches multiple storylines at once. Rachel's silent threat, Rolf's experiment growing stronger, the custody war gaining momentum, EJ's quiet heartbreak. And when all these sparks ignite, Salem is heading toward an inferno. One nobody sees coming, one nobody is prepared for. Thursday leaves a mark, a deep, unsettling mark, because it tells us one thing: the real chaos hasn't started yet. But it's coming, and when it hits, Salem won't just be shaken. It'll be changed forever.